Welcome to All Titans Talk. I am your host, Lane Mills. This is a new show. We're going to be talking Titans football on a regular basis. We are affiliated with Titans on SI. That's where I do all my writing. So if you're interested in the articles and the breaking news over there, you can check out the site. This will be less regular. Those articles are daily. This is going to be more like just sort of semi-regular updates. We'll cover the big hitters and kind of go over Titans news. So if you're new here, you can find us anywhere you listen to your podcasts as well as on YouTube. And feel free to leave a comment where you can. And we'll talk Titans stuff. This week, of course, is the NFL Combine. So a lot of big stuff for the franchise. We've got some logo change news to go over. But we'll start with Robert Saleh's first appearance as the Titans head coach outside of his introductory presser and like the Good Morning Football stuff that he's been doing. So his first appearance at the Combine, he talked a lot. There's a lot of quotes, a lot of stuff you could pull. Big stuff with Cam Ward. A lot of solid talk about Cam Ward. Of course, Saleh's a defensive head coach, not necessarily the guy that's going to be handling Ward on a regular basis. That will be Brian Daboll. Interesting tidbit of news there, by the way. Saleh said he doesn't expect Daboll to be around long. Daboll, after his run with the Giants, came to a short end, and now he's back to being offensive coordinator. Saleh seems to expect and said so in the national news that he will not be around long. So hopefully Ward doesn't get too used to Daboll, and the Titans can just kind of roll off. That was a big stipulation in Saleh's hire, was that he would bring a storied offensive coordinator with him. And of course, Daboll is that guy. Worked with Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, even Calvin Ridley, who is currently on the Titans roster. We'll see how long that lasts. But for the time, just lots of connective tissue for Daboll, good offenses, and for Cam Ward. So that was sort of the stipulation of Saleh's hire, was that he brings in an offensive coordinator, and you can trust this defensive-minded head coach to deal with your franchise quarterback. But he talked a lot about Cam Ward at the Combine. He touched on the free agency stuff for Tennessee, but that was mostly, we're keeping it in-house. We're not going to say anything. Of course, Titans release Lloyd Cushenberry, so there's a start to the offseason, cutting an offensive lineman there to get a start on Carmen Brasillo's sort of overhauled O-line. But for the time, it's just sort of all hearsay as to what the Titans are going to do. The big thing with the Combine is who the Titans are going to draft. Of course, 3 picks in the first 3 rounds. You've got number 4, number 35, and number 66. Those latter two, you could be looking at receiver maybe at 35. I've mocked that a few times. Maybe Brazel out of Tennessee, Bell out of Louisville, even Cooper out of Indiana. Any of those guys could maybe fall and be available there. Would not be surprised to see Tennessee swing at the 35. You also are looking for a corner to replace L'Jarius Sneed, assuming he, like Ridley, gets cut with his off-the-field issues and injuries. That would be no surprise. Save the Titans a little extra money. Not that they need it, but it would save Tennessee that much more money and just kind of update this young roster. But it's that fourth overall pick that we're mainly worried about. That's kind of the spot where it looks like Tennessee might swing for an edge. But that position right now seems to be the greatest of need. Not only is it defensive, and it's kind of been the rumor since Saleh took over in Tennessee that that pick would be defensively oriented. That's his specialty. He's going to be calling the plays this time around. That's something that he said did not go well in New York with the Jets, is that he was not calling the plays. So Saleh, his hire in Tennessee was not only based upon the idea that he would bring in a coordinator, which he did with Daboll, to handle the offensive side of things, but that his defensive capabilities, which is what got him the Jets job and this job in the first place, he had a great run this past year with San Francisco. It would be that he calls the plays himself. So that's a big deal. And of course, the defense is going to have to change a little bit. Denard Wilson last year did a solid job with what he was given. The whole roster really was a mess in the year and a half or so under Brian Callahan, whose name we do not say. Much nicer to have Saleh representing the team at the Combine this time around for sure. But Saleh touched on a prospect, actually. We're looking at that position. If we're going edge, Arden Key is kind of the spot right now for the team, but he's also had some personnel issues, dealt with some injuries. It's just kind of been the expectation that Tennessee is going to update on the edge. And of Ruben Bain Jr., that's Miami Hurricanes alum, national champion, runner-up this past season. Saleh said the tape was undeniable. And then Bain spoke today and said he thought that he killed it in his talk with the Titans at the Combine. Of course, he's not the only prospect Tennessee's in touch with. We'll get into that in a second. But Bain is sort of this ideal defensive addition to slot in next to Cedric Gray and Jeffrey Simmons. He's versatile. He's a big dude, bulky dude, 9.5 sacks this past year, but he also forced a fumble and snagged an interception. This was the centerpiece of the Miami Hurricanes defense. And of course, having been there a few years, he even spent a year at Miami with Cam Ward. And he spoke today also about Ward recruiting him to Tennessee. And it seems like there's already mutual interest there. Of course, Arvo Reese is the big name at edge out of Ohio State. Everybody's been talking about for this draft. That's kind of the go-to guy, but he's expected to go prior to the Titans' fourth overall selection. So the team's going to be forced to kind of zoom out and spell out their options here, assuming Reese doesn't fall. And Bain kind of looks to be the favorite, at least early on. You also have to consider David Bailey out of Texas Tech. Maybe not as versatile, not as physical as Bain, but the Red Raider had 14.5 sacks and three forced fumbles this past year. He also spoke today at the combine and has been confirmed to be in talks with the Titans. So the Titans just kind of across the board doing their due diligence, being a top five pick, talking to all the big names. But if it were me, and I'm kind of zooming out, which Robert Saleh is not calling Lane Mills about his Titans decisions, his draft decisions. But it looks like Bain and Bailey are both sort of the guys that might be available at that spot, are likely to at least be in the conversation at fourth overall. And if you're the Titans, the cap space you have reported over $100 million in your pocket, you're probably going to look at receiver elsewhere. According to Tony Pauline, Wan'Dale Robinson and Alec Pierce are names to watch there. So the Titans are already sort of, I mean, I know Salah said it's in-house, but reputably, the Titans are already sniffing out other options in free agency at the receiver spot. In the corner, Mike Bergonzi, general manager, said today that there are options in free agency and the draft. So seems like there's some backup there, but the focus, the only prospect Salah has mentioned by name is Ruben Bain, and Bailey having already been in contact too. And Reese says something about that edge position sort of lighting up for Tennessee. So it looks to me like that's your battle. If I had to go one way or the other again, I'd probably at this stage prefer Bain. He just seems to be the more explosive prospect to me. Again, he's more physical. He's got about 20 pounds on Bailey. Came up with less sacks, but I just think he's the more versatile prospect with more room to grow. And again, it helps that he's already expressed interest in playing for Tennessee. We have a long way to go till April. These guys will most likely participate tomorrow. I'll be at the combine on the scene for that. You can hit us at All Titans Talk on Twitter. Little plug there if you want to see some content on the scene. But we'll get a better look there as to what these guys are fully, truly capable of. But for the time, former teammate with Cam Ward, saw was a fan of the tape, expressed interest in Tennessee. I would probably err to Bain at that fourth pick. But then again, I mean, you never know. Tennessee could be fully in on free agency. With the assets they have right now and the money they have to spend, I wouldn't be shocked at a trade back. Jim Wyatt mentioned that just a few days ago that it's a possibility that Tennessee could decide, well, hey, if they come out at the combine and there's not a ton going on, not a ton to write home about, Saleh could pack his bags and try and go for a defender in free agency or trade a few picks back and get some extra assets that way. Maybe that pick would be less impressive, but again, you've got a few already padding out the second and third round. So Tennessee has options. Right now, I would probably prefer to see them stick with that spot and go ahead and try and get a sort of franchise changing defender like Jeffrey Simmons when he was drafted in 2019, kind of guy that can stick with you through personnel changes, staff changes, and just kind of be around. We have no idea if Bain, Bailey, Reese, or any of those guys could do that or be that. But for the time, pre-combine drills or tape or anything like that, I think Bain looks to be the guy for Tennessee. But plenty can change by April, so we'll see what happens. We know by March 12th, according to Tennessee's social media, not combine related. We'll move away from that for a second. Just the other big piece of breaking news right now is that the Titans have seemingly confirmed the new uniforms. So March 12th, of course, of this year, the Titans posted this graphic on Twitter. You've got the light blue, like threaded jersey background. You've got navy blue stars. This comes just maybe a week, 2 weeks after Fanatics, of all people. Everybody loves Fanatics. Leaked what looked to be a new Titans logo on a plush football online. You've got the red and you've got the light blue circle and the stars and the T. We've lost the Flames. I've seen a lot of Titans fans online complaining about the loss of the Flames and the apparent loss of the Navy too. People have been complaining about the Flames for years. I could really care less either way. The Oilers throwbacks are tough as nails. Those are kind of fan favorites. So maybe the front office took cues from that, and they're kind of like, well, we're gonna go ahead and sort of just feed into this identity fully. But the last time Tennessee rebranded when they became the Titans and moved, they made a Super Bowl the year after, 1999 and 2000. So maybe a good omen there. But either way, it looks like the Navy is going to be incorporated to some extent. We have no idea what the jerseys are going to look like. Certain fans will recall that when Cam Ward took Warren Moon's jersey number when he was first coming into the league, Moon mentioned that he'd seen Titans jerseys to some extent. He said they were futuristic and it was this thing that he'd seen and fans should be excited about kind of deal. People don't know if Warren Moon was just looking at mocks. That's what Paul Kowarski said online, that he must have seen a mock jersey. There's nothing official. But after the billboards started popping up in Nashville and the Titans posted this graphic themselves, March 12th, there's this big announcement. New era fans can attend and see this grand reveal. Something is cooking on the branding front in Tennessee, which is exciting to have going on. At the same time as the combine, of course, it's a great time to be a Titans fan. Salah's coming up here. I mean, in his opening presser, he talked about winning Super Bowls. He's talking about uh, developing Cam Ward, drafting big prospects. He's keeping the free agency stuff under wraps. Really good staff, not just Dable, but Gus Bradley at DC as well. These are guys that other teams wanted and chose to come to Tennessee. It's a different era right now in Tennessee, and people should be at least paying attention. This team should at least get more than 3 wins this year. Two back-to-back 3-14 seasons. Not going to inspire a lot, but with Salah at the helm and New Jersey's, it feels like a proper reset in Tennessee for the time. So fans can look forward to that in March. Probably spell out some free agency news in the meantime. We'll see what goes down with Pierce and Robinson. Again, according to that report, the Titans are sort of at least feeling that out in free agency. Alec Pierce of the Colts seems to be the favorite. But if the Colts find a way to keep him around, they'll want to pivot to Robinson. And there are other options, of course, too. You've got Breece Hall with the Jets, who has not yet been franchise tagged and used to play for Saleh. You've got John Franklin Myers, the defensive option coming out of Denver, also used to play for Saleh and has already been commenting on social media about maybe reuniting with Tanzel Smart, who's a defensive assistant and his former teammate. Lots of connective tissue. All that to say that Saleh is he's putting feelers out. The team is active in free agency at the combine, trying to inspire something in fans with this new look. It really is a new era in Tennessee. So we're only a few days into this combine week, and we've just barely got this jersey announcement. But the wheels are spinning on the Titans front. We've got a lot going on. So we'll keep you posted on the pod. We'll keep you posted on the site. Feel free to leave your comments down below. Just give us your thoughts, what you think about all this stuff. Again, check out the Twitter for footage and content from the combine, and then we'll hit you back here on the pod when the combine ends and go over everything we learned. But I've been Lane Mills. This has been All Titans Talk, and thank you for tuning into the first episode.